Hey, 6th grade, thank you for tuning in to the latest episode of Mrs. Katsoulis Teaches You Fractions. So this is lesson 3.4, practice and apply division and fractions and mixed numbers. I can divide mixed numbers and fractions to solve problems. Step it out. Kevin is making hamburgers for a cookout. He bought 10 1/4 pounds of ground meat. How many 1/4 pound burgers can he make? All right, so this is pretty real world. Obviously, you know I like hamburgers and hot dogs from our party planning. So here it is with making them and seeing how much meat. So they set it up for us. It's a division problem because we're taking the 10 1/4 and we're dividing it into 1/4 pound pieces. So I think you can envision a big thing of hamburger and then cutting it into pieces. Before we can do 10 1/4 divided by 4, as they wrote it here, we have to change that mixed number, 10 1/4, to an improper fraction. To do that, we do the denominator times the whole number plus the numerator. So we would do 10 times 4 is 40, plus 1 is 41, divided by 1/4. And then if you remember, to divide fractions, we actually multiply by the reciprocal. So we're going to do 41 over 4, and we're going to take 1/4 and we're going to flip it over. And then do you see what they noticed? They noticed that there was a 4 on the top and the bottom. Because those numbers were the same, we can divide them by itself and get 1. So 4 divided by 4 is 1. So they just make 1 together. So now we have much smaller numbers to deal with. So now we just have 41 times 1 is 41, and 1 times 1 is 1. And remember from the other day, anytime we have a fraction with a denominator of 1, it's actually just a whole number. So it's 41. That means he can make 41 hamburger patties. He's going to have an awesome Chiefs tailgate party. All right, number 2. Kevin's friend Justin is bringing juice to the cookout. If he brings 43 3/4 pints of juice, then how many 2.5 pint bottles can be filled? All right, if you hear weird noises, Mr. Henry is helping me teach this today. If only you could see him. All right, so A, complete the division problem that answers the question. So they knew it was division because, again, we were taking a big thing of juice, 43 3/4, and we're separating it into smaller bottles. So 43 1/4 divided by 2.5. Just like up above, we have to change our mixed numbers to improper fractions. So we would do 4 times 43 plus 3. So first, do 4 times 43, and you get 172 plus 3 is 175. And then 2.5, so 2 times 2 is 4, plus 1 is 5. So all I've done is changed my mixed numbers to improper fractions, so now I can divide it. To divide fractions, we multiply by the reciprocal, so we're going to keep 175 over 4. Then we're going to take 5 halves, and we're going to find the reciprocal by flipping it upside down. So now it's going to be 2 over 5. All right, so now let's multiply straight across. We're going to do 175 times 2 is 350, and 4 times 5 is 20. Now we have to ask ourselves, how many times does 20 go into 350? Which is the same as doing 350 divided by 20. Remember, a fraction is just a division problem. So you're going to say, okay, 20 goes into 35 one time, subtract 150, bring down the 0. 20 goes into 150 7 times, that's 140. There's 10 left over. Remember, our remainder becomes our fraction. So 17 is the whole number, and then 10 is the numerator, and our denominator is still 20. We need to reduce that, so we'll keep our 17. If you notice, 10 and 20 both end in a 0, so we can divide them by 10. we would get 1/2. How many 2.5 pint bottles can be filled? 17.5 bottles. So he'll have 17 that are full and then one that's only a half full. All right, we're continuing on to the next page. It says Cedric finished a 4-mile race. If he ran each mile at the same pace, how many minutes did he average for each mile? Write an expression to represent this situation. All right, so remember when it says expression, it means write the math problem. That's it. All right, so it says how many minutes did he average for each mile? So we want minutes for each mile. That's important. Minutes for each mile. So how many minutes did he run? Well, he ran 38.5 minutes divided by his 4 miles. Because they gave us the whole time, but we just want to know how much it was for 1 mile. So we're going to divide the time up against the miles. All right, then it says evaluate the division expression using the reciprocal of the divisor. Show your work. Mrs. Catskill's favorite expression. All right, so we have 38.5 divided by 4. I'm gonna write it as 4/1. Now, we can't use 38.5. We have to do it as an improper fraction. So we need to do 38 times 2 plus 1, and that is 77, and then we'll keep our 2 as our denominator, divided by 4/1. Okay, so now if we want to divide fractions, we'll keep the first fraction and multiply by the reciprocal. So 4/1 becomes 1/4 when we turn it upside down for the reciprocal. Now we can multiply straight across. 77 times 1 is 77. 2 times 4 is 8. Okay, obviously we're not going to leave it like this. We need to turn it back into a mixed number. So we need to ask ourselves, how many times does 8 go into 77? Well, I know that 8 will go in 9 times. 9 times 8 is 72. So if I had 77 and I took 72 away, that leaves me with 5/8. Remember, the remainder of your division problem becomes the numerator of your fraction. How many minutes did Cedric take to run each mile? Well, we just found that he took 9 5/8 minutes for each mile. All right, now look at this, check your understanding. This was a pretty short lesson, so I want you to look at number 1 and number 2. Okay, number 1 and number 2, not these. Just 1 and 2, pause the video, work them out, and come back and check them with me. All right, I hope you had time to work those out, and now you're ready to go over them. Number 1 says Yusuf is cutting pieces of construction. All right, so hopefully you had time to go over those, and you're ready to check them with me. Yusuf is cutting pieces of construction paper so he can make cards for his family. Each piece of paper is 11.5 inches wide. If he cuts the width so he could have 2 equal-sized smaller pieces, how wide will each piece be? So first you had to set up a math problem. I read that he has a piece of paper that is 11.5 inches. So that's where it starts. And then I read that he wants to cut it or divide it into 2 pieces. I'm going to divide by 2. So then I have to change 11.5 to an improper fraction. I would do 2 times 11 is 22, plus 1 is 23 over 2 divided by, and remember I can take a whole number and put it over 1, so that'd be 2/1. Now, to divide, I have to multiply by the reciprocal. So I'm going to do 23 over 2 times the reciprocal over 1, flip it upside down, and it's going to be 1/2. Then I'm going to multiply straight across. 23 times 1 is 23. 2 times 2 is 4. How many times will 4 go into 23? 5 times. And 4 times 5 is 20, so there's 3 left over. So it says, how wide would each piece be? Each piece would be 5 3/4 inches wide. All right, the second one says Marisol has 4.5 cups of flour. A biscuit recipe she wants to try requires 3/4 cup of flour for a single batch of biscuits. How many batches of biscuits can she make? So again, we're gonna divide and we take the amount we start with. So we started with 4.5 cups and we're dividing it into 3/4 cup batches. Let's change our mixed number to an improper fraction. 2 times 4 is 8 plus 1 is 9. Divided by 3/4. And then we're gonna multiply by the reciprocal. So 9 over 2 times 3/4. Flip it upside down is 4/3. Multiply straight across. 9 times 4 is 36. 2 times 3 is 6. How many times can 6 go into 36? Well, it goes in 6 times. So she can make exactly 6 batches of biscuits. All right, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in today. I hope you're getting the hang of these fractions and the division. Remember, important, always turn mixed numbers to improper fractions. Then we're gonna multiply by that reciprocal. Until next time, see you later.